The red light flashed across the command center of Mars Defense Station, breaking the quiet of the night shift. Admiral Jack Martinez looked up from his coffee as the communication officer turned toward him with wide eyes. "Sir, we have an incoming transmission. It's not from any Earth ship," said Lieutenant Carol Davis, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "The signal is coming from outside our solar system." Jack set down his cup and walked to the main screen. In his 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The transmission was clean, perfectly clear, and definitely not human in origin. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The image that appeared made everyone in the room go silent. A tall, pale creature, with large, dark eyes, stared back at them. Its skin looked like polished metal, and when it spoke, its voice was cold and emotionless. "People of Earth," the alien began. "I am Commander Vex of the Zephyrian Empire. We have been watching your species for many years. You have grown beyond your small world, and now you threaten the order of this galaxy." Jack felt his heart pounding. First contact with alien life, and it was not the peaceful meeting that Earth scientists had always hoped for. The alien continued. "Your expansion must stop. You will surrender all your colonies beyond Earth immediately. You will submit to Zephyrian rule. You have 72 hours to respond. If you refuse, we will remove your species from existence." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. "Get me President Carter on the emergency line," Jack said quickly. "And send word to all fleet commanders. We need an emergency meeting in 1 hour." Within minutes, the communication channels were buzzing with activity. Reports came in from observation posts across the solar system. A massive fleet of alien ships had appeared at the edge of their space. The ships were huge, each one larger than Earth's biggest battleships. Captain Lisa Gordon arrived at the meeting hall on Mars Station still wearing her flight suit. She had been testing new engines on her ship, the USS Horizon, when the alert came through. As she entered the room, she could see the worry on every face around the conference table. "The situation is simple," Admiral Martinez began as everyone took their seats. "We are facing an alien force that wants to destroy us. Their technology appears to be far ahead of ours. They have given us 3 days to surrender." General Mike Stevens, head of Earth's ground forces, shook his head. "We can't just give up without a fight. Humans have never surrendered to anyone." "But look at their ships," said Admiral Karen Brooks, pointing to the images on the screen. "Each one of those vessels could probably destroy our entire defense fleet. We might not have a choice." Lisa stood up, her voice firm. "With respect, Admiral Brooks, I think we're making a mistake if we assume we can't win this fight." All eyes turned to her. Jack nodded for her to continue. "These aliens think they know us," Lisa said. "They've been watching us, studying us. But I don't think they understand what makes humans dangerous. They see our technology and think we're weak. They don't see our ability to adapt, to find new ways to fight." "What are you suggesting, Captain?" Jack asked. "I'm suggesting we don't give them what they expect. Every species they've conquered probably fought them the same way, ship to ship, weapon to weapon. But humans fight differently. We use everything around us. We take risks that other species won't take." On the moon, far below the meeting on Mars, Dr. Richard Stone was already thinking the same thing. Deep in Luna Base's secret research facility, he stood before a massive ship that no one outside his team knew existed. "How long until the Ghost class? Destroyers are ready?" he asked his assistant, Dr. Susan Clark. 3 months for full production," she replied. "But we have 5 ships that could fly right now. They're not fully tested, but the basic systems work." Richard nodded. 3 years ago, a damaged alien scout ship had crashed in the Arizona desert. The military had brought it to his team in secret. They had spent those 3 years learning from the alien technology, but not copying it exactly. Instead, they had combined it with human engineering in ways that even they didn't fully understand yet. The Ghost-class ships were smaller than traditional human vessels, but they were fast and nearly invisible to most detection systems. More importantly, they carried weapons that worked on completely different principles than both human and alien technology. Back on Mars Station, the meeting continued late into the night. Reports kept coming in about the alien fleet. More than 500 ships, all armed with energy weapons that could cut through human armor like paper, Their shields could stop any weapon that Earth's military currently had. "We need more time," said Admiral Martinez. "Time to prepare our defenses, time to evacuate the colonies if necessary." "The colonies won't evacuate," Lisa said. "I know the people out there. They came to space to build new lives. They won't run back to Earth just because aliens tell them to." President Carter's voice came through the communication system from Earth. "Admiral Martinez, what are your recommendations?" Jack looked around the room at the faces of Earth's military leaders. These were good people, brave people, but they were facing something that no human had ever faced before. "Madam President," he said finally, "I recommend we prepare for war. We may not win, but we won't go down without showing these aliens what humans are capable of." The meeting ended with orders going out to every human ship and station in the solar system. In 72 hours, humanity would give its answer to the Zephyrian Empire. As the officers left the meeting room, Lisa looked out the window at the red planet below. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of human space, 500 alien ships waited for Earth's response. She smiled grimly. The aliens wanted a war. They were about to learn that humans had been preparing for war their entire history, even if they didn't know it yet. The 72 hours passed faster than anyone wanted. President Carter had sent Earth's response to the Zephyrian Empire in simple words: "Humanity will never surrender." Commander Greg Walsh stood on the bridge of Europa Mining Station, watching the stars through the main window. The ice mining facility orbited Jupiter's moon, far from Earth but close to his heart. He had built this station with his own hands over 5 years. Now alien ships were coming to destroy it. "Sir, we have contacts on long-range sensors," called out his communications officer, Lieutenant Pete Johnson. 15 alien vessels approaching fast." Greg nodded calmly. He had only 3 defense ships and 40 crew members. The odds were impossible, but he would not run. "All ships, this is Walsh," he spoke into his microphone. "You know what we're facing. Anyone who wants to leave can take the escape pods now. No one will think less of you." Not one person moved to leave their post. The Zephyrian ships appeared like dark shadows against the starfield. They were beautiful, in a terrible way, smooth and curved like sea creatures from Earth's oceans. But Greg knew they carried death. The first alien beam cut through space like a sword of light. It struck the defense ship Ranger and cut it completely in half. The explosion lit up the darkness for miles around. "Return fire," Greg ordered. The human missiles and energy weapons hit the alien ships directly, but nothing happened. The Zephyrian shields absorbed every shot like drops of rain. Within 20 minutes, Europa Mining Station was destroyed. Greg Walsh and his entire crew died fighting, but they managed to damage 1 alien ship before the end. It was not much, but it was something. News of Europa's fall reached Mars Station within hours. Admiral Martinez stood in the command center, his face hard as stone. The reports were exactly what they had feared. Human weapons could not get through. "Alien shields." "Sir," said Captain Lisa Gordon, "I request permission to take the USS Horizon into battle." "Lisa, your ship won't last 5 minutes against those things," Jack replied. "Maybe not," she said, "but we have to try something different." Before Jack could respond, another voice spoke from behind them. "Admiral Martinez, I think we can help." With that, they turned to see Dr. Richard Stone walking into the command center. He was wearing a flight suit and looked like he had not slept in days. "Doctor, what are you doing here?" Jack asked. "I came to tell you that the Ghost-class destroyers are ready to fight," Richard said. "Not all of them, but 5 ships that can fly and shoot." Jack stared at him. "I thought you needed 3 more months." "We did, but the war started early." Richard smiled tiredly. "Captain Gordon, would you like to see what human engineering can really do?" An hour later, Lisa stood on the bridge of the USS Reaper, the first Ghost-class destroyer. The ship was smaller than her usual command, but it felt different. The walls hummed with energy that seemed almost alive. "This is incredible," said her weapons officer, Lieutenant Barry Cole. "I've never seen systems like these." "The stealth systems are active," reported Navigator Emma White. We should be invisible to their sensors now. The USS Reaper moved through space like a hunting shark. Its engines made no sound and its hull absorbed sensor beams instead of reflecting them back. But the most important difference was in its weapons. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the Ghost-class ships carried railguns. These weapons used magnetic fields to fire solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The aliens had shields that could stop energy, but they had never faced pure kinetic force delivered at such velocity. Lisa found her target, a group of 3 Zephyrian cruisers moving toward Mars. They were flying in formation, confident that no human ship could threaten them. "Take us in close," she ordered. "Wait until we're right on top of them." The USS Reaper approached the alien ships like a silent ghost. The Zephyrians had no idea death was coming for them. "Fire," Lisa said quietly. The railgun spoke with a voice like thunder. The solid metal projectile hit the first alien ship at nearly the speed of light. The Zephyrian shields designed to stop energy weapons could not slow down the physical impact. The projectile punched through the alien hull like paper and exploded inside the ship. The alien cruiser broke apart in a ball of fire and metal. "Target the second ship," Lisa ordered, her heart pounding with excitement. The second railgun shot destroyed another Zephyrian cruiser. The third alien ship tried to turn and run, but it was too late. The USS Reaper's third shot caught it in the engines, and the ship drifted helplessly in space. "All targets destroyed," reported Barry, his voice full of amazement. "We did it. We actually killed them." The news of the USS Reaper's victory spread through human space like wildfire. For the first time since the war began, humans had won a battle against the aliens. On the Zephyrian command ship, war leader Crix stared at the reports with growing anger and confusion. 3 cruisers destroyed by a single human vessel that had appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. "How is this possible?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "The human ship used kinetic weapons, war leader. Solid projectiles moving at extreme velocity. Our shields are not designed to stop such attacks." Crix felt something he had not experienced in decades of conquest. Uncertainty. Every species the Zephyrian Empire had defeated fought with energy weapons and particle beams. They had never faced an enemy that used such primitive yet effective technology. "Double our patrol formations," he ordered, "and scan for any unusual energy signatures. These humans are more dangerous than we calculated." Back at Luna Base, Dr. Richard Stone was working around the clock to prepare more Ghost-class ships. The success of the USS Reaper had proved that human innovation could match alien technology, but they needed more ships and more weapons. "How many more can we have ready in the next week?" asked Dr. Susan Clark. 15 ships, Richard replied. "Maybe 20 if we skip some of the safety tests." "Skip them," she said. "The crews will take the risk." Admiral Martinez called an emergency meeting of all fleet commanders. The destruction of 3 Zephyrian ships had changed everything. Humans could fight back. They could win. "The aliens made one critical mistake," he told the assembled officers. "They assumed we would fight like every other species they've conquered, but humans don't fight fair. We fight to win." Captain Lisa Gordon stood up. "Sir, I request permission to take a squadron of Ghost-class destroyers and hunt down more alien ships. We need to hit them hard before they figure out how to defend against our railguns." Jack nodded. "Permission granted. Take any volunteers you can find. Show these aliens what happens when they pick a fight with humanity." As the meeting ended, everyone knew that the real war was just beginning. The aliens had started this fight expecting easy victory. Instead, they had awakened something in humanity that they were not prepared to face. The USS Reaper and her sister ships were no longer experimental weapons. They were instruments of human determination, and they were about to change the course of galactic history. 2 weeks after the first victory, Captain Tony Blake sat in the pilot seat of the USS Viper, one of the newest Ghost-class destroyers. He was leading a squadron of 12 ships through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The plan was simple but dangerous. Hit the aliens where they did not expect it, then disappear before they could fight back. "Enemy formation spotted," called out his sensor operator, Lieutenant Chris Moore. 8 Zephyrian ships moving in standard battle formation. Tony smiled. The aliens were still fighting like they always had, using the same patterns they had, used to conquer dozens of other worlds. But humans did not follow patterns. All ships are spread out, he ordered over the communication system. Use the asteroids for cover. We're going to hit them from 6 different directions at once. The Ghost-class ships separated and moved silently through the floating rocks. Each ship took position behind a different asteroid, waiting for Tony's signal. Remember, he said to his squadron, fire once and move immediately. Don't stay in the same place for more than 10 seconds. The attack began without warning. 12 railguns fired almost at the same time, their metal projectiles screaming through space at incredible speed. 4 alien ships exploded instantly. The remaining 4 tried to return fire, but the human ships had already moved to new positions. Second wave fire, Tony commanded. Another barrage of kinetic shots destroyed 2 more alien vessels. The last 2 Zephyrian ships tried to flee, but they were too slow. The USS Viper caught one with a perfect shot to its engines, while another human ship finished off the final enemy. All targets destroyed, reported Chris. No human casualties. This became the pattern of the war. Human ships would appear from nowhere, strike hard, and vanish before the aliens could respond. The Zephyrians had never faced an enemy that refused to fight honorable battles. Commander Kate Phillips had an even crazier idea. She was in charge of a special unit that flew the fastest human ships available. Her plan required using Jupiter's gravity to slingshot her ships to impossible speeds. "Are you sure this will work?" asked her navigation officer, Lieutenant Roy Adams, as they approached the giant planet. "The math says it will," Kate replied. "We're going to use Jupiter's gravity to accelerate our ships to nearly 10% of light speed. At that velocity, we won't need railguns. Our ships themselves will become weapons." The maneuver was incredibly dangerous. One small mistake in navigation would send them crashing into Jupiter or flying off into deep space. But Kate had calculated everything perfectly. 5 human ships dove toward Jupiter, using the planet's massive gravity field to gain speed. They came around the planet like bullets shot from a gun, moving faster than any ship in galactic history. The target was a Zephyrian battle group of 15 ships that was heading toward Earth. The aliens detected the approaching human vessels, but they could not believe the sensor readings. "Impossible," said Zephyrian Commander Zell as he watched his tactical display. "No ship can move at such velocity." Kate's ships struck the alien formation like hammers hitting glass. The USS Falcon, moving at incredible speed, punched completely through 3 Zephyrian vessels before its hull finally broke apart from the impact. Kate and her crew died instantly, but they had destroyed an entire section of the enemy fleet. The other 4 ships in her squadron achieved similar results. When the attack was over, all 15 alien ships were destroyed, though only 1 human vessel survived the mission. The news of Kate's sacrifice and victory reached Dr. Richard Stone as he was working on his latest project. The success of the Ghost-class ships had given him an idea for something even more powerful. "Susan, come look at this," he called to Dr. Susan Clark. "I think I've figured out how to make our weapons even deadlier." She walked over to his computer screen, which showed complex diagrams and equations. "What am I looking at?" she asked. "I call it the Hellfire Protocol," Richard explained. "Instead of firing solid projectiles, we convert matter directly into directed energy bursts. But unlike alien plasma weapons, these energy beams are completely unpredictable. They change frequency and intensity randomly, making them impossible to defend against." "Can we build it?" Susan asked. "The first prototype is ready for testing," Richard said. "I need a volunteer pilot." Lieutenant Commander Matt Thompson stepped forward. He was a test pilot who had flown every experimental ship that humanity had ever built. "I'll do it," he said simply. 3 days later, Matt climbed into the cockpit of the USS Hellfire, a specially modified Ghost-class destroyer equipped with the new weapon system. His target was a group of 12 Zephyrian ships that had been attacking human supply convoys. "Hellfire Protocol is online," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Nancy Green. "Energy conversion systems are stable." Matt approached the alien formation carefully. He had no idea if the new weapon would work or if it would destroy his own ship. "Fire," he ordered. The result was beyond anything they had expected. A beam of pure energy erupted from the USS Hellfire, but it was unlike any weapon ever seen before. The beam twisted and pulsed, changing color and intensity every fraction of a second. When it hit the first alien ship, it did not just destroy the vessel. It completely disintegrated it at the atomic level. The beam continued through the alien formation, destroying ship after ship. In less than 30 seconds, all 12 Zephyrian vessels were gone, reduced to scattered atoms floating in space. "My God," whispered Nancy. "What have we created?" On the Zephyrian command ship, War Leader Crix was receiving reports that made no sense. His tactical officers spoke of human weapons that defied all known laws of physics and battle tactics that no civilized species would ever use. "They use their own ships as missiles," reported one officer. "They sacrifice themselves to destroy our vessels." "They appear from nowhere and vanish like ghosts," said another. "Our sensors cannot track them." "Now they have weapons that completely dissolve matter," added a third. One human ship destroyed an entire battle group in seconds. Crix felt something that the Zephyrian Empire had not experienced in over 200 years. Fear. Every species they had conquered had fought predictably, using standard military tactics and conventional weapons. But humans fought like wild animals, using anything and everything as a weapon. "How many ships have we lost?" Crix asked quietly. "Over 100 vessels in the past month," came the reply. "At this rate, we will lose our entire invasion fleet within 6 months, for the first time since the war began." Crix wondered if the Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake in challenging humanity. Back on Earth, Admiral Martinez was reading similar reports but from the human perspective. The Ghost-class ships were exceeding every expectation. Human crews were finding new ways to use their technology every day, creating tactics that the aliens could not counter. "We're not just winning battles," he told President Carter during their daily briefing. "We're changing how war itself is fought. The aliens expected us to be another easy conquest, but we're showing them something they've never faced before." "What's that?" the president asked. "A species that turns its own supposed weaknesses into strengths," Jack replied. "They thought our primitive technology made us helpless. Instead, it made us creative. They thought our unpredictability made us inferior. Instead, it made us unbeatable." The war was far from over, but already it was clear that humanity would never be the same. The species that had once been confined to a single solar system was proving that it belonged among the stars, and that any alien empire that threatened human survival would face consequences beyond their worst nightmares. 6 months had passed since the war began, and the Zephyrian Empire was facing something they had never experienced before: defeat. War Leader Crix stood in his command chamber, staring at reports that showed the complete collapse of their invasion force. "We have lost over 300 ships, his tactical officer reported with barely controlled fear. "The humans are hunting us like animals. They strike from everywhere and nowhere." Crix's hands trembled as he read the latest intelligence reports. The humans had not just learned to fight back, they had become something terrifying. Their new ships were faster, deadlier, and more unpredictable than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "How many human ships have we destroyed?" he asked. 47 confirmed kills, came the reply. "But they build new ones faster than we can destroy them." On the bridge of the USS Shadowhawk, Captain Paul Davis watched the tactical display with satisfaction. His ship was the newest and most powerful vessel in the human fleet, a next-generation Ghost-class battleship that combined everything humans had learned about war. "Target acquired," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Carl Brown. "Zephyrian command vessel bearing 270, Paul smiled coldly. The alien flagship had been running from human forces for 2 weeks, but there was nowhere left to hide. The USS Shadowhawk had been designed specifically to hunt down the most important enemy ships. "All weapons prepare to fire," Paul ordered. "Let's show them what happens when you threaten humanity." The USS Shadowhawk carried not just railguns and Hellfire protocol weapons, but also something new. Quantum torpedoes that could phase through matter and explode inside enemy ships. The alien shields that had once seemed invincible were now useless against human technology. "Fire everything," Paul commanded. The barrage that followed was unlike anything seen in the war so far. Railgun projectiles, energy beams, and quantum. Torpedoes struck the Zephyrian command ship from multiple directions. The alien vessel, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was torn apart in seconds. War leader Crix died without ever understanding how his superior technology had been defeated by what he had thought were primitive humans. On Earth's moon, Commander Betty Rogers stood in the main control center of Luna Base, now transformed into the most powerful fortress in human space. The defensive systems that Dr. Richard Stone had designed made the moon itself into a weapon. "Incoming Zephyrian attack. Force," reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Frank Wilson. 25 ships approaching from the dark side of the moon. Betty activated the lunar defense grid with a smile. "Let them come. We've been waiting for this." The surface of the moon came alive with weapon systems. Massive railguns built into the lunar mountains fired projectiles the size of buildings. Energy cannons powered by fusion reactors sent beams of pure destruction across space. The approaching Zephyrian fleet was wiped out before they could fire a single shot. "All targets destroyed," Frank reported. "No damage to our systems." But the most desperate moment of the war was yet to come. Deep in Zephyrian space, the Empire's leaders had made a terrible decision. If they could not defeat humanity in battle, they would destroy Earth itself. The Zephyrian planet killer was a massive vessel designed to crack worlds in half. It had been used to destroy rebellious planets across the galaxy, and now it was heading toward Earth at maximum speed. Admiral Joe Crawford received the intelligence report while he was inspecting the USS Devastator, the largest ship humanity had ever built. The battleship was over 2 miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. "Sir, we have a problem," said his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Sarah Bell. "The aliens are bringing their planet killer toward Earth. It will arrive in 18 hours. Joe looked at the specifications of the alien weapon. It was too big and too well protected for normal attacks to work. But there was one way to stop it, though it would require the ultimate sacrifice. "Get me Admiral Martinez," Joe said quietly. "I have a plan." Within hours, the USS Devastator was racing toward the outer solar system. Joe had volunteered for a suicide mission, and so had his entire crew of 800 volunteers. They all knew they would not be coming home. "Sir, the planet killer is on our sensors," reported Navigator Lieutenant Bill Gray. "It's even bigger than we thought." Joe stared at the alien vessel through the main view screen. It was like a metal mountain flying through space, bristling with weapons and protected by shields that could probably withstand a nuclear explosion. "Prepare the ramming protocol," Joe ordered. "Transfer all power to engines and structural integrity fields." The USS Devastator's AI computer, nicknamed Annie by the crew, spoke through the ship's communication system. "Captain Crawford, the probability of crew survival is 0%. Are you certain you wish to proceed?" "Annie, download your core. Programming to the navigation system," Joe replied. "We're going to need perfect timing for this to work." As the USS Devastator accelerated toward the planet killer, Joe addressed his crew one final time. "Today we save Earth. Today we save humanity. It has been an honor to serve with all of you." The collision happened at nearly the speed of light. The USS Devastator, guided by Annie's perfect calculations, struck the planet killer at exactly the right angle to breach its main reactor. The explosion could be seen from Mars, a new star that burned for 3 full minutes before fading. Both ships were completely destroyed, but Earth was saved. News of Admiral Crawford's sacrifice spread throughout human space within hours. The loss of the USS Devastator and its crew was a heavy blow, but the destruction of the planet killer broke the Zephyrian Empire's will to fight. On the surviving Zephyrian ships, commanders were receiving reports of complete military collapse. Their most powerful weapon was gone, their fleets were scattered, and the humans showed no signs of slowing down. "We must request terms," said acting war leader Nix, who had taken command after Crix's death. The humans have proven they cannot be conquered. What terms can we offer? Asked his aide. We came here to destroy them. Why would they show us mercy? Nix looked at the tactical displays showing human ships advancing on all fronts. Because that is what humans do. They fight like demons, but they also know when to stop fighting. That ceasefire request was transmitted to Earth on a frequency that all human ships could receive. For the first time in 6 months, the guns fell silent. Admiral Martinez received the alien surrender offer in his command center on Mars Station. Around him, his officers waited to hear his decision. Signal all human forces to cease offensive operations, he ordered. But keep our weapons ready. We'll negotiate, but we won't trust them completely. The war that was supposed to end humanity had instead transformed them into the most feared military force in the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire, which had conquered dozens of worlds, had been brought to its knees by a species they had thought was primitive. But for humanity, the war was not just about survival anymore. It was about taking their rightful place among the stars and making sure that no alien empire would ever again threaten the people of Earth. The surrender negotiations took place on a neutral space station at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Julie Evans, who had been promoted after her brilliant victories in the outer colonies, led the human delegation. Across the table sat acting war leader Nix and what remained of the Zephyrian command structure. You understand the terms, Julie said, her voice calm but firm. Complete surrender of all Zephyrian military forces, full access to your star charts, and technology databases. Reparations for the colonies you destroyed. Nix looked older than when the war had started. His once proud uniform was faded, and his eyes showed the weight of defeat. We accept your terms, Admiral Evans. The Zephyrian Empire officially surrenders to humanity. The signing ceremony was broadcast across human space. People in every colony, on every ship, and in every city on Earth watched as their former enemies put their signatures on the surrender documents. The war that was meant to destroy humanity had instead made them the newest galactic superpower. Back on Luna Base, Dr. Richard Stone was already working on the next phase of human expansion. The alien technology they had captured during the war was being studied and improved by teams of human scientists. But Richard was most interested in something else entirely. The quantum drive systems, he explained to Dr. Susan Clark as they walked through the research facility. The Zephyrians had ships that could cross the galaxy in weeks. With our modifications, we can do it in days. What are you thinking? Susan asked. I'm thinking it's time for humanity to visit the rest of the galaxy. Richard smiled. And I want to make sure we arrive in ships that no one will want to challenge. The first new human exploration fleet was assembled in record time. 50 ships of various sizes, all equipped with the latest hybrid technology that combined human innovation with captured alien systems. The vessels were fast, heavily armed, and designed to show the galaxy that humanity was not just another species to be conquered. Captain Dan Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Pioneer, the flagship of the exploration fleet. He had been chosen to lead humanity's first mission to the galactic core worlds, where dozens of alien civilizations conducted trade and diplomacy. All ships report ready for departure, said his communications officer, Lieutenant Kelly Davis. Courses laid in for the Galactic Trade Council headquarters. Dan looked out at the fleet assembled around his ship. Each vessel represented the best of human engineering and the hard-learned lessons of war. They were no longer the desperate defenders who had fought for their lives 6 months ago. They were explorers, ambassadors, and warriors all at once. Begin quantum jump sequence, Dan ordered. It's time to introduce ourselves to the galaxy. The journey that would have taken years using old human technology was completed in just 5 days. When the human fleet arrived at the Trade Council space station, they caused immediate panic among the alien species gathered there. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves, came the challenge from station security. This is Captain Dan Miller of the United Earth Fleet, Dan replied. We are here to announce humanity's arrival in galactic affairs. The news spread quickly through the station. The Zephyrian Empire had been one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and these humans had completely destroyed it in just 6 months. Every alien diplomat suddenly wanted to meet with the human delegation. Ambassador Helen Ross, who had been chosen to represent Earth in galactic politics, found herself fielding dozens of requests for meetings. Species that had never heard of humanity a year ago were now eager to establish trade agreements and military alliances. "It seems everyone wants to be our friend now," she remarked to Dan as they reviewed the diplomatic requests. "Fear has a way of making people very friendly," Dan replied with a slight smile. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's sudden rise to power. In a secret meeting chamber deep within the Trade Council station, representatives from several alien empires were discussing what they saw as the human threat. "They destroyed the Zephyrians in 6 months," said General Korth of the Rigel Confederation. "If we allow them to continue expanding, they will dominate the entire galaxy within a decade." "Their technology is advancing too quickly," agreed Councillor Vex of the Centauri Alliance. "They take our weapons and make them better. They fight in ways we cannot predict or counter." However, their discussion was being monitored by human intelligence systems that Dr. Stone had quietly installed throughout the station. Within hours, Admiral Martinez knew about the potential threat. "Some of our new neighbors are getting nervous," he reported to President Carter during their secure communication. "They're talking about forming an alliance against us." "What do you recommend?" the president asked. "We keep building ships," Jack replied. "And we make sure everyone knows that attacking humanity is a very bad idea." Meanwhile, the human colonies that had survived the Zephyrian attacks were being rebuilt, with new technology and stronger defenses. The mining stations, research facilities, and settlements that had once been vulnerable outposts were now becoming fortified bases for further human expansion. On Europa, where Commander Greg Walsh and his crew had died defending the mining station, a new facility was being constructed. It was 10 times larger than the original and was designed to serve as a military base as well as a mining operation. "Greg would be proud," said Admiral Martinez as he watched the construction from his command ship. "He held the line long enough for us to learn how to fight back." The memorial services for all the humans who had died in the war were held simultaneously across human space. Admiral Joe Crawford and the crew of the USS Devastator were honored as the heroes who had saved Earth itself. Their sacrifice had become a symbol of human determination that would inspire future generations. But the war had changed humanity in ways that went beyond technology and military power. The species that had once been content to slowly explore their own solar system now looked at the entire galaxy as their rightful home. Dr. Richard Stone's latest project was a new class of ships designed for long-range exploration and colonization. These vessels could establish human settlements on worlds thousands of light-years from Earth, spreading humanity across the galaxy faster than any species in galactic history. "We're not just explorers anymore," he told Susan as they watched the first colony ship prepare for launch. "We're the species that other civilizations will have to deal with, whether they like it or not." The war that the Zephyrian Empire had started to eliminate humanity had instead transformed them into the galaxy's newest and most dangerous neighbors. The aliens had wanted to stop human expansion before it became a threat. Instead, they had accelerated it beyond their worst nightmares. As Captain Dan Miller's exploration fleet prepared to visit more alien worlds, he reflected on how much had changed in just 1 year. Humanity had gone from being unknown primitives to being the most feared military force in known space. "Signal the fleet," he ordered as they approached their next destination. "Let's go show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." The stars ahead held countless worlds, countless opportunities, and countless challenges. But humanity was ready for all of them, armed with technology that no enemy could match and a determination that no obstacle could break.